Gymnastics is probably one of the most visually exciting sports. It's so captivating to see gymnasts tumble and flip through the air like it's no big deal. But as amazing a sport as it is, it's also true that gymnastics is ridden with controversies, some of which are so absurd that they don't even make any sense. And we're about to discuss those in this video. First is the 2000s Andrea Raducanu controversy. Gymnasts may perform supercritical routines with ease, but they're still humans like us who can catch a cold and get sick. But a mere cold was what cost Andrea Raducanu her gold in the 2000s Sydney Olympics. Her games were on point during the competition, and she'd even qualified in the floor, vault, and all-around final. By the end of the game, Romania had swept all the top spots in the all-round final, with Raducanu winning gold and her teammates Simona Amanar and Maria Olaru taking silver and bronze respectively. But the successful sweep quickly soured when the International Olympic Committee accused Andrea of using pseudoephedrine, a banned substance at the time. The Romanian Gymnastics Federation argued that she'd taken the drug because of a cold and that they made her feel nauseous and dizzy if anything. Raducanu Andrea also stated that she'd taken the drug under the direction of her trainer Joachim Oana, considering that she was a minor at the time. They stripped her off of her gold title after the IOC refused to listen, which made the controversy a huge, nonsensical debacle, especially after they decided to re-award it to Anamar, who, by the way, was also tested positive for the banned substance. Only hers was within legal limitations, so she wasn't disqualified. Unbelievable, right? 20 years later, she's still fighting to get her gold back, which makes this controversial decision even more heartbreaking for her. And that wasn't the only observed controversy that happened in the Sydney Olympics, because next's incorrect vault settings. You'd think at least the Olympics, the most coveted games in the world, would get the settings of their facilities right before starting the games, but that wasn't the case in Sydney, where the vault settings in the gymnastic games caused a lot of uncharacteristic falls in the events. American gymnast Elise Ray's turn in the all-around vault became a scary spectacle when she missed both hands and landed flat on her back. She also went on to miss both vaults in the competition thanks to the faulty settings, but at least she got to play. British gymnast Annika Reeder got injured so badly in the warm-up that she missed the competition entirely, and they weren't alone. Svetlana Korkina of Russia landed on her knees, and Australian gymnast Alana Slater also voiced her concerns at the start of the third rotation, which the officials finally took note of. And what did they find out? The horse was indeed set about 2 inches too low. You had one job, Sydney, and you couldn't even get that right. Thanks to that and the drug event, the all-around final that year became one of the most controversial moments in gymnastics history. Also, there's the age debate. That happened at the same Olympic event. Would you believe it? This controversy was about age manipulation, which has been a long-standing issue for the gymnastics community around the world. This time, however, it raised an outcry when Chinese gymnast Dong Vangxiao applied for accreditation to serve as an official in the Beijing Olympics. But while she listed her birthday in 1986, the International Gymnastics Federation had listed it as 1983. This conflict started a full-fledged investigation where it was determined in 2010 that Vangxiao was, in fact, 14 years old during the 2000 Games, violating the rules that required participants to be 16 in the year of the competition. Because of this, IOC took away the bronze medal from her and awarded it to the Americans who were previously listed as fourth. All we can say is that a game has to be pretty controversial if it raises controversies a decade after its commencement. Moving on, the 1992 Olympic all-around final. Set in Barcelona, the final competition in the Olympics caused a huge showdown between American gymnast Shannon Miller and Ukrainian Tatiana Gutsu. The latter player won the all-around title by 0.012 tenths, which also happened to be the smallest victory margin in the sport's history. Even though Miller had contributed flawlessly to the routines the entire night, the judges attributed the win to Gutsu because of the impressive difficulty she faced. But after Gutsu's fall on the beam and prelims prevented her from finishing in the top 3 of her team, the unified team that she belonged to pulled Rosa Galieva from the all-around competition just to be replaced by Gutsu herself. This was gutting to Rosa, but nothing could be done then as there were no rules that prevented this from happening. You'd think it makes no sense for a team to replace one of their winning gymnasts with another, but it happened, just because the unified team knew that Gutsu's win would play off better for the team's image. It's crazy, we know, but we've got some even crazier controversies to cover. Next up, Jim Thorpe losing his Olympic double. America's original, who was known to be the jack of all trades in the Olympic Games, was always considered a prodigy. His gold medals won in the pentathlon and decathlon events at the 1912 Stockholm Games were a testimony to that. But in a shocking decision following the Games, Thorpe lost his medals after officials found out that he played professional baseball before the Olympics. This was because this practice was against the rules of amateurism of the Games back then. However, after Thorpe's death in 1953, his gold medals were reinstated 30 years later, stating that a protest against his appearance was not made within 30 days of the 1912 Games. Okay, but if you had to reinstate his medals, you couldn't do it maybe 3 decades earlier? At least the guy would have had the satisfaction of getting his awards back. And then there's the flying Finn ticket incident. Paavo Nurmi, a Finnish gymnast, gathered up an enviable collection of medals, including 9 golds and 3 silvers in 1920, 1924, and 1928 Olympic Games. But as he prepared for the 4th Games, Swedish officials started questioning his amateur status, which, as seen earlier, was a necessity to compete in the Olympics back in the day. The flying Finn, as he was called, sadly had to relent to the council, and that led to his retirement a few years after. How absurd is it that a single rule can change a hard-working athlete's career? But you'll be glad to hear that he got his sweet revenge against Sweden, albeit 20 years later, when he lit the Olympic flame in the Helsinki Games. At least he got that satisfaction. And in the latest, we have the Simone Biles controversy. If there was a medal for the most absurd controversies, this one would take the cake. You've probably heard of Simone Biles, star gymnast, has got 31 medals to her name, you know the one. Being the most decorated gymnast in the world, she's obviously got a fan following who expects the best from her. But like we said earlier, gymnasts are humans too, guys, and they go through a lot of pressure and training to be who they are. So when she decided to exit the gymnastics team competition at the Tokyo Olympics, it sparked a controversy that's still following her. What happened is that she got the twisties. It's a term in gymnastics that refers to when the athlete loses control of their bodies as they spin through the air. They might twist when they hadn't planned to, or they could stop midway. This spatial disorientation is what Biles went through in her vault, and it was serious enough that she decided she needed a mental health break. People went berserk. They went as far as to call her an embarrassment who dropped the game just because she was having a bad day. But what people don't understand is the mental pressure gymnasts like her go through. After all, facing all the people you do is one thing. Add twisting and turning your body to fly through the air in that, and you have a job that's not easy to qualify for. This remains to be one of the most absurd topics in the gymnastics community, but for us, it just doesn't make sense. So what if Simone took a break? Everyone deserves one, especially people who perform such difficult tasks as part of their career. People should instead be proud of her to follow her mind's call for rest instead of pushing herself. Because if this video proves anything, it's that the world's super hard on gymnasts. From losing their medals to hurting themselves, they go through a lot of pain. And we just hope that with time, these athletes can get the due credit they deserve, so that this sport can also shine in all its glory without the crazy controversies. That's a wrap for this video. Which controversy do you think is the most absurd in the gymnastics community? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.